Hi, my name is Erin Morrison, and my goal today is to educate all of you on the emerging trends in cyberbullying, what it looks like for you as a teacher, and how we can support our students. So I want to talk to you first about what cyberbullying is, and it is truly the act of intimidating or threatening someone with electronic technology. So it is bullying. I mean, hard and fast, that's what it is. It's just any sort of online behavior instead of face-to-face. And it's really anything that's posted online that's intended to hurt or upset someone else. So we're going to talk a little bit about how to recognize cyberbullying, and we're going to start with who is the most at risk. And all the studies have found that bullies target victims with disabilities and mental illness, as well as those who they view as weaker than themselves. So 74% of students with a history of negative and violent home environments have been found to be the targets of online cyberbullying. And the most common target for cyberbullying are children and young adults, especially females, students, and members of the LGBTQ community. Now, when we talk about cyberbullying, the first question is, how common is it? Is it really happening? And from a poll of 20,000 students, 70% of them said that someone spread rumors about them online. And that's a lot. That's 70% of our students. The poll also found that 73% of middle and high school students had experienced bullying on school grounds. So this is also happening at school. And fact number 3 is from a report from the U.S. Department of Education, and they found that in 2010, 37.7% of schools surveyed had never had an increase in cyberbullying, an incidence in cyberbullying. But in 2016, that number decreased from that almost 40% down to 19%, found that they had never had an incident of cyberbullying reported. Then the question becomes, where is it happening? So now with so much online availability, sites, there are a lot of opportunities for this to be happening. Currently, in 2020, First Sight Guide found that 42% of cyberbullying was taking place on Instagram, with Facebook right behind it at 37%. Then we have Snapchat, which is at 31%, WhatsApp with 12%, YouTube at 10%, and Twitter at 9%. And as we talk about us as educators, as teachers, we think, what is our responsibility when it comes to cyberbullying and keeping our students safe? So the first piece to look at is our responses to bullying. They need to be targeted. So that means it's focused on the nature of the harassment. What's causing it? Why is it happening? Then it needs to be comprehensive, and this is long-term recurring programming versus a one-time brief presentation, conversation. Students need to be aware, they need to understand it, and we as educators need to be able to support them. And then third, we need to be able to demonstrate the effectiveness of it. So the bullying has to stop or at least be significantly reduced. So that's going to tell us if our responses to that bullying are actually effective. And then we need to look at it from what the law says, because this is really important as educators. Where are we? Where's our responsibility? How will the law support us as schools? There's a real gray line about if something happens on school property or if it happens off of school property, where do we stand and what is our responsibility? So the first piece of it is that as school personnel, we have the burden of demonstrating that the bullying actually resulted in a substantial interference in education. And this has become the default standard that schools apply when evaluating our ability to discipline students for their misbehavior. So you have to look, did that behavior directly influence the education of the student that was being bullied? So what the law has also found is that certain expressions are not protected under freedom of speech, and they do allow for intervention and the discipline. So these type of expressions or behaviors need to substantially or materially disrupt learning, as we were just talking about, or interfere with the educational process or school discipline. It also can be disciplined if it utilizes school-owned technology to harass. So if the school district is one-to-one and has MacBooks like we do here at USD 458, then that means that if the student uses our laptop, school-owned laptop, then they would be able to be punished as well. Or if the expression or behavior threatens other students or infringe on their civil rights. So those are 4 different ways to look at it. And schools also have the authority to discipline students when speech or behavior off campus results in a clear disruption of the school environment. So even though it's happening off campus, is it when you come back to school a specific and disruption of the learning environment? So here's one more piece of law. In March 2010, California's Appellate District Court concluded that online threats against a student were not protected speech and allowed a civil lawsuit against the alleged perpetrators, their parents, and school officials to proceed. So that it has been shown that cyberbullying can be punished. So now we need to look, what do the numbers say? So they say that 22.5% of students say that the most common type of online bullying is mean comments. 35% had shared that a screenshot of someone's status or photo of themselves has been shared for others to be able to laugh at them. 61% of teens who report being bullied say it was because of their appearance. 56% of online harassment victims reported that they had been harassed on Facebook. And 7 in 10 young people experienced cyberbullying before they hit the age of 18. Those are pretty high numbers and honestly very scary numbers to think about. Then we look at some of the reasons for cyberbullying. Appearance, academic achievement comes into play, race, sexuality, the financial status, religion, and then of course there's a whole slew of other factors that come into play for cyberbullying. So as teachers, educators, administrators, how can we help parents? The first one is to ask parents to discuss the use of social emotional networking sites with their children. How are they using them? Is it healthy? Is it a positive experience for them? Because if it's not, then they need to be off of it and not using it at all. Number 2, a study from Common Sense Media found that parents underestimate their children's use of social networking sites, and they're often unaware of how they are used. So although 37% of students admitted they made fun of a peer online, only 18% of parents thought their child would engage in such conduct. So it's just making sure that those conversations are being had at home about, how people feel and what they feel when you are making fun of them. And number 3, this is according to a social media survey. A lot of parents, saying 46%, speak to their children frequently about online behavior and threats. However, only 39% say that they do it sometimes, and 12% say that they never do it. So now I wanted to look at our USD 458 school board policies and how they impact us and how we can protect our kids. So the Board of Education prohibits bullying in any form, and that's across the board, by students, by staff, or by parents. So, and that's on school site, or in a school vehicle, or at a school-sponsored activity or event. Nowhere actually does board policy talk about off-site. So our school board policy also talks about bullying and includes cyberbullying, and they define it as bullying by use of an electronic communication device through means including email, instant message, text message, blogs, mobile phones, pagers, online games, and websites. And as appropriate, reports to local law enforcement will be filed to report criminal bullying behaviors. USD 458 also has a program that targets bullying and mentoring for students of all ages in the school district, and this is our CareCat program. And this is an anti-bullying program, and it focuses on putting high school students who have been approved into elementary all the way up through high school classrooms to be positive role models and supports. And the goal is for those older students to make connections and to really be peers, positive peer models. The students who are doing the CareCap program earn a half credit towards graduation, and we currently have over 150 students who are matched as mentors with students throughout the grades of kindergarten through 12th grade. So we at USD 458 do have a very, very strong policy against anti-bullying. And as educators, we just need to continue to learn more and support our students as we can.